Hello everyone, this is RaceBase here in Flight Sim 2020. Yesterday I watched Avangel's video on the Vertavia B36 and decided that I might want to get that, and I came into the marketplace in the game and checked it out. I decided that the external textures weren't up to snuff, but I might still get it, especially if people make liveries for it, and we'll talk more about liveries in a sec. But at the marketplace, I saw that the Captain Sim C-130 was on sale. Now, there are three versions of the C-130 available. There's the E, the H, and the J. I got the H. This is the C-130H. It was on sale for $13. Its regular price was $25. I decided that that was enough of a discount for me. $13 seemed reasonable given the general quality of the look of the thing. Of course, people have... on my previous video on Captain Sim's space shuttle mentioned that, well, Captain Sim doesn't have the best reputation. I've mentioned that as well. Captain Sim used to have a very good reputation in Flight Sim in FSX, but in Flight Sim 2020, certain moves have made that reputation go away somewhat. And one of those is the attempt to prevent people from making free liveries of the planes, and that is true of the C-130 as well. I don't know if it's still the case after updates, but it has been the case that this is the only livery available for the plane by default, and if you want more liveries you have to pay for them from Captain Sim, and the plane by default attempted to prevent people from making freeware liveries for it by... I'm not entirely clear how, but basically the liveries would not load properly. However, there is a workaround for that, and I have used that workaround, and I have other liveries for the plane thanks to that workaround. But yeah, that's a little bit iffy. Of course, it's fine for Captain Sim to sell other liveries for the plane, but trying to prevent people from making the freeware liveries is not how things normally work in Flight Sim. That said, I've got this plane, and of course we have a workaround, and I think that for the price, at the current price of $13, probably even at the price of $25, it's an interesting plane. And let's take off here at Edwards Air Force Base and try it out. Now, right now I don't have the condition levers mapped. As we get off the ground here, lots of interesting features. Here's the gear retraction. Interesting nose wheel doors and flaps. Now, while it only comes with one livery, the livery does look good. I would like a more diverse bunch of liveries, and I'll figure out how to get those. But yeah, it's got good weathering on it. And it looks nice in the scene. I think you'll agree that it fits very well. The cockpit is very convincing. Not everything is clickable. These switches work. Some others, like those warning system test switches, do not. These switches over here for the elevator, rudder, and aileron boost, etc. do not, nor do the fuel enrichments or oil cooler flaps, but the boost pumps for the fuel can be toggled. The crossfeed valve can be toggled. So some things yes, some things no. I didn't go through the startup procedure, and if we take a look at the checklist, it seems like that's very simplified. There's the starting the engines. It's fairly simple compared to what I expect, and it doesn't cover all the possible things in the cockpit that would need to be set up properly. So yeah, it's not that big a deal. Let me make sure that we are in fact going to Las Vegas properly. Alright, a little bit of a turn. But it does look good, and it is functional. I look forward to seeing how it works with Neofly. Neofly does recognize it, and so I could do some cargo missions with it with Neofly in the career. I have tried it in Flight Sim 2024. I got it through the marketplace, and in Flight Sim 2024 it allowed me to download it there even though it's not creator approved. So, but keep in mind that because it's not creator approved, it might like go away, but at least for now it's there, and it did seem to work reasonably well. I could take off. It worked better than the V1 Lancer. So, and the V1 Lancer actually says it's compatible. This plane's autopilot is somewhat interesting. There are switches in various locations relative to it. The flight director switch, which you can switch to manual, which will activate the mode select, and this heading set. So in order to get this working right, that to manual, that to heading, this set where you want it to be, and then you go over here and you flick those, and then it'll continue climbing as it has been climbing. If you want to set it to that altitude, there's also an altitude switch, and the altitude switch is, well, let me change view here for a sec. Control 8, and then the altitude control switch is here, so that'll hold. That's really an altitude hold switch. So we're climbing pretty quickly right now, faster than we probably ought to. The rate of climb indicated on Wikipedia is 1,830 feet per minute. We're going more like 3,000. Oop, had a little bit of a knock there. So yeah, a little bit fast, but we're holding our speed, so it's okay. I haven't tested the range of this yet. That'll come later. I'm fine with 8,000 feet. Let's do 8,500 and hold it there. Okay. So then that's the hold. And there are various other toggles. For instance, there's the aileron and elevator trim and rudder trim here. I don't know if that affects how the autopilot will hold it. I think it might, because there's this other aileron knob here, but we can't actually manipulate that. So I'm not sure. But so far so good with the autopilot. I have enough stuff here. Control 1 twice in order to get back to this sort of view, though it will be initially tilted to the right. So a little bit above 8,500 right now, but it's holding it, and we can probably go back on the throttle a little bit. Well, we hear some wind, interestingly. We might as well do some stuff to get more wind in. For instance, lowering the ramp. Lowering the ramp happens, though it doesn't have those little vehicle flaps lower when you're in flight. So each of these things on this clipboard are things that can open or close. Here it is closing. But some of them do not operate in flight, of course. So we can't have the engine cowlings open right now. If I click them, they just won't allow it. Or the entry door, it just won't allow it. But on the ground, I've tested it and it does allow it. Paratroop door, it does allow. So there we go. And if this was configured for Flight Sim 2024, we could have people do some skydiving out of it, potentially. Especially if we had a fancier livery for it. The clipboard can be hidden if you click right at the top here, but you'll have to remember that that's the hot spot there. There is some paratroop controls here, alarm bell, thunderstorm lights there, and various other lights here. There is a lighting system. I'll go through exactly what features the website has as far as what is supposed to be included with the plane. So as we cruise right along here, what the website says is highly detailed and accurate model of the true classic C-130 cockpit. We've seen some of that. Advanced simulation of C-130 systems, normal procedures, whatever it considers normal. But I guess that means no failures, so don't expect any of that stuff. and it doesn't really list what systems. I'm not too sure it's got like a realistic hydraulic system. I don't know how the fuel feed system's actually working. And since it said normal procedures, I don't assume any failures whatsoever, no engines catching on fire or anything like that. High resolution textures, it certainly has. Hundreds of custom animations, a lot of them those doors and the engine cowlings and such. Adjustable cockpit lighting, I'm in daylight so I can't really appreciate that right now. And custom views, as usual. The cockpit has the views set up and they are satisfactory. Exterior, highly detailed and accurate model, just as the cockpit. And the high resolution textures. Cabin with 3D windows, one would assume. Interior and animated Air Force pilots. Yeah, if you look through the windows you can see the pilots in there, and but obviously not inside. Complete cargo cabin with animated ramp and doors, we saw that. Custom antennas and optional equipment, one livery, and that is the one you see here. And then it lists the door animations, wheel chocks. There's apparently toolboxes, so there's a few things, and pitot covers, I believe. The sounds, it's a stock turboprop sound set, which the website says sounds heavy enough thanks to the custom flight model. I'm not picky about turboprop sounds, to be honest. Radials, yes. Jets, often yes. The turboprops, not so much, so I'll accept that. And it says it supports rain and icing features. Now, one thing it doesn't come with is a manual. And it's been out for a while, and it still doesn't have a manual, and still on the website it says manual coming soon. I looked in the folder, it did not have a manual. So that's a little bit of a shame. One thing I would like at least is some information, I could probably look it up otherwise, what the limits on the flaps are. I still had a little bit of flap there. If we take a look here, you can see the flaps have many different settings. I don't know what speed limit they have, so that's sort of a basic thing that I'd like to know. Sometimes planes have a little board that has that information on it. This does not. So, yeah. The clipboard could have some other information, like on other pages, if we could do that. That would be nice. So, we're going pretty fast here. I have already throttled down, but I could probably throttle down a little bit more. And we are a little bit to one side. So let's test how the Autopilot adjusts. We are turning a bit. Alright. I mean, as far as the Captain Sim planes go, it's nice. It has a custom interior. One of the problems that people had with Captain Sim planes before is that they didn't have a custom interior. This does. Some of the other planes were just exteriors using a stock interior or something like that. The space shuttle, I was amused by, but the space shuttle had a few problems. First of all, the leading edge tiles were not the right color. Second of all, it had the wrong glide ratio, which is all the space shuttle ever does is glide. It was a little bit too draggy compared to how it's supposed to be, and it had a limited number of scenarios I would have liked the landing at Edwards. So there were some issues with the space shuttle, though it's always nice to have a space shuttle. This is a little bit more straightforward. It's our usable plane in here, and I think people can get a lot more fun out of it. It turns and operates as I would expect it to. It feels about right. The C-130 is certainly a nice plane to have. Its first flight was in 1954, so it's had a 70-year history and is still in service. The J version is actually still in production, and I think more than 50 countries use it. So there are a lot of available liveries if we want to have liveries. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind liveries from a lot of those countries. Conceivably, I could fly around the world and actually have appropriate liveries for most, if not all, of the countries I'm flying over. I could probably plot that out. Now, if that's the total fuel there, and that's the fuel pressure, there's no fuel pressure indicator for the tanks individually. I assume that that would be the total fuel pressure. I'm not entirely sure why it would be reading 0 right now. Well, we are approaching Las Vegas there. It's loading in some chunks. Okay, so altitude control, I'll take off. If I can reach it from here, there we are. And really, I'll just take the autopilot off. Now, it does flash this autopilot off warning, and I don't know how to stop it from doing that, but at least it's not making a sound. Somewhere, maybe there's a autopilot warning switch off, but I don't know. Then the breakers definitely do not work. Could pull the breaker on that warning, but that does not work right now. There's Las Vegas. Now it takes a lot for this to slow down. It doesn't have air brakes. Well, there's Nellis. I don't know if I can descend quickly enough, probably. But I need to slow down. This is where figuring out whether the flaps can effectively work as air brakes would be good, but I don't know if they're okay at this speed. I'm gonna try and extend them though. Well, that dome thing in Las Vegas is really active. It's looking like a lava ball though. Or Venus. Wonder if that changes in game or if that's just how it is. Yeah, I sense that the frame is complaining. I'm gonna turn around here to slow down. Well, coming in a bit high as usual. The big wing sort of lost me a little bit. I probably should just reverse the propellers at this point. A little bit hard. But okay, since it's an early landing with this. Well, there's some other ones right there. We've got family. And a whole lot of like F-15s or something over there. So it's a very easy, sort of no problem plane to fly. I'll just park it here for processing for now. Okay, now we're continuing. I want to open it up. There's our propellers winding down here. And let's take a look at all the things that can be opened. Just go for everything. Oh wait, the pilot window can get in the way of certain things. Oops. Interphone hatch, apparently. Don't ask me. I'll put random cowls for each of the engines to give us some variety. Don't know about the intake plugs. Well, let's do 2 of those. Gear doors? I mean, Probably those are already there, but okay, all the paratroop doors, ramp. Don't know about the flag. Alright. So, random, that ramp. Got all sorts of doors. Hopefully the vehicle flaps go down this time, because we're on the ground. You can see the engine cowlings, showing the detail of the engines in there. And yes, the vehicle ramp does lower in this case. So there you have it. That's the C-130 from Captain Sim. And I got it off of the marketplace for 13 bucks because it was on sale. And I'm pleased with it. So you can make your own judgment based on what you've seen. With that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time.